What's up, guys? Welcome back. Macaroni and cheese is one of the most popular recipes in America, and as with most things that are popular, everybody has an opinion on what's the best way to do it. The most common debate lately is to use an egg or a roux for their mac and cheese, but today I'm going to show you a recipe where you don't need either one of those things. Meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen. Now, when it comes to mac and cheese, everyone and their mama, literally, has an opinion on how to make it the best. I think we can all agree on three things that make great mac and cheese. It's got to be cheesy, it's got to be creamy, and it's got to be flavorful. Right now, we're going to focus on the cheese part of this. So I like to use 5 different cheeses here. When you do a mac and cheese recipe with multiple different cheese or flavor profiles, you want to try to do it strategically. You don't want to go get 5 sharp cheddars or 5 smoky flavors. It's going to be too much. You want to balance it out. So I like to start with mozzarella. Very nice base flavor. It's not going to be overwhelming. It melts really nicely. It's going to be a great foundation. We're going to add a little smoked gouda to add the smokiness. We got some sharp cheddar. We got Monterey Jack. We got Colby Jack, which in my opinion melts the most beautifully on top. It's going to have like 2 different colors. It's got a little white. It's got a little yellow. It melts nicely. It browns up beautifully. One other pro tip when it comes to the cheese is I like to shred my own cheese. If you have the time or the forearm strength, this will prevent the things like anti-caking agents that you get from the store-bought pre-shredded stuff. That can make your cheese sauce consistency a little gritty at times. And I like to just shred my own cheese. I think that is one way to really amplify your mac and cheese recipe. All right, guys, so again, great mac and cheese is creamy, cheesy, and flavorful. We talked about the cheese already. Let's talk about the flavorful portion of the equation. A couple flavor enhancers I like to use is chicken bouillon powder to flavor the water that we're going to boil the pasta in. You could also just use chicken broth if you want to, but the chicken bouillon powder does have a little MSG, a higher sodium content than most chicken broths themselves, and it's just going to add a lot of flavor to your pasta that you can't get otherwise. That's one way I like to enhance the flavor. I also launched a buttery garlic pepper seasoning, something that has that buttery note on there that gives it that flavor in the actual cheese sauce. And last but not least, the type of pasta is important. Obviously, elbow macaroni is popular, cavatappi. One of my favorites is jumbo elbow because you can get some sauce into the pasta. But I also recently found this pasta called pipette rigate. It's almost like a bowl of sorts. You can kind of have a little bit of sauce in the actual noodle itself. It holds it really well when you bake it. Absolutely delicious. You can find this at Wegmans or Whole Foods or online. All right, my friends, it's time to get started on the cheese sauce. Now, this is where things get flavorful. This is kind of where, you want to pay attention. Luckily, we're not using a roux or eggs today, so this recipe, in my opinion, is a lot easier than some of my other recipes. And it comes out great. I've been making mac and cheese for a very long time. This is probably the most foolproof recipe I've ever come up with. We're gonna get the party started with about 2 or 3 tablespoons of butter. We're also gonna add 4 cups of heavy cream. If you wanna use evaporated milk, that's cool. I like heavy cream, it's consistent, and I always have it on hand. It's just what I like to use. If you have another milk variety or cream variety, that's cool, half and half. Obviously, the lower the fat content of the product, the thinner the sauce is going to be, so just keep that in mind. The star of the show that is going to help us achieve the creaminess that we're talking about in the mac and cheese is 8 ounces of cream cheese. We're going to add that to the 4 cups of heavy cream, allow that cream cheese to melt, dissolve, and mix into the cream. It's going to thicken things up a little bit, have a nice base layer for our cheese sauce. All right, guys, one quick pro tip when it comes to making mac and cheese is you do not want to overcook your pasta. If you boil it per package instructions, by the time it comes out of the oven after 30 minutes, it's going to be very soft. It's not going to have much texture. So I like to undercook my pasta by about 2 or 3 minutes from what it says on the package, and it's going to continue to cook in the oven. Still going to be nice and al dente and soft, but it's going to have a little bit more bite and hold up better with that sauce. All right, guys, now it's time to go ahead and flavor this up. We got the cream cheese in there. It's melted. I'm going to kill the heat for right now because I don't want this to be too hot. I'm going in with my all-purpose seasoning, just a blend of salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder, a little paprika, then the buttery garlic pepper seasoning. It has a really great, robust butter flavor, which is nice with mac and cheese. Obviously, garlic is never a bad thing in my opinion. And then finally, a little pinch of chicken bouillon powder, which is going to play off the bouillon that we had for the pasta boiling. And it's also going to add a little bit of MSG, which is a flavor enhancer. and makes things delicious. So we're gonna go ahead and season it up like that. I got the heat off right now because one of the key things that you want to keep in mind when you're making a cheese sauce is you don't want it to be too hot when you start to incorporate the cheese, because if it is, it'll start to separate on you and you'll have an oily mac and cheese. So I'm gonna use the residual heat to go ahead and melt this cheese that we're about to add. Here comes the cheddar and the smoked gouda. Then we're gonna go in with the mozzarella and the Monterey Jack, saving the Colby Jack for the topping. All right, guys, so now it's time to incorporate the cheese sauce into our cooked pasta. This is a matter of personal preference depending on the consistency in which you like your mac and cheese. The more sauce you add, the looser it's gonna be. The less you add, the thicker it's gonna be when you bake it. So I'm gonna show you the consistency that I'm looking for. All right, guys, we got the oven preheated at 350 degrees. The next biggest thing that people look for when they get mac and cheese is the cheese pull. Let me show you a way to make sure you guarantee you get that. Obviously, we have plenty of cheese in here already, but we're gonna add a layer of cheese in the middle, which is gonna kind of be like a cheat code for the cheese pull. I'm gonna add this first layer of mac down, go down with a little bit of shredded cheese, and then top it off, and then it goes into the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes. And then last but not least, a nice thin layer of that Colby Jack right on top, for what some people will call it the golden blanket. All right, guys, we're fresh out of the oven after 35 minutes at 350 degrees. We're gonna let this cool for about 15 minutes before we dig in. This is the part where I say brace yourself for a trademark money shot. Say it with me, guys, looking good. The only thing left to do is dig in for the taste test, but before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. All right, guys, I got my fork. I got my appetite. We got a cheesy, creamy mac and cheese situation, piping hot. It's tough to beat that. Try this recipe, please.
I'm playing around with this. I was there when you first made mac and cheese, and this is probably your greatest creation right here when it comes to the mac.
So I remember you said you taught them how to make chicken. Did you teach
fried
them how to
chicken
make mac and cheese as well?
No, we actually started with a family friend recipe and met them, evolved it into this Frankenstein. Yeah. Alright, here's the best mac and cheese recipe. He a mac and cheese hater.
This is real mac and cheese. All the stuff you've been eating the past 30 years, ain't it?